China has agreed to relax travel rules for British citizens, allowing visa-free entry for short-term visits, the UK government announced today. The deal comes during British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer's visit to Beijing, a major step in UK-China relations. China has agreed to allow British citizens to travel to the country for up to 30 days without a visa, Downing Street has said. The announcement came after Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer met President Xi Jinping in Beijing as he became the first British leader to visit the country in 8 years. The trip also saw an agreement to cut import taxes on UK whiskey from 10% to 5% as the government seeks closer trade ties with Beijing to help boost economic growth. However, critics have argued the UK should have a more cautious relationship with China because of the risk to national security and the country's human rights record.
Under the agreement, British citizens will be able to enter China without a visa for stays of up to 30 days, whether for tourism or business. The move brings the UK into line with around 50 other countries that already enjoy visa-free access to China. There is no date for when the visa agreement will be in force, but the government is hoping this will happen as soon as possible. Hundreds of thousands of British people could potentially benefit from the change, with around 620,000 traveling to China in 2024, according to the Office for National Statistics. Downing Street said it would bring the UK into line with 50 other countries, including France, Germany, Italy, Australia, and Japan. Sir Keir said the move would make it easier for businesses to expand in China, while people would also be able to go on holiday there without a visa. As one of the world's economic powerhouses, businesses have been crying out for ways to grow their footprints in China, he said. We'll make it easier for them to do so, including via relaxed visa rules for short-term travel, supporting them to expand abroad, all while boosting growth and jobs at home.
The announcement follows high-level talks between Prime Minister Starmer and Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing, the first visit by a British Prime Minister to China in 8 years. Leaders discussed economic cooperation and strengthening bilateral ties. Downing Street said the UK and China had also agreed to explore whether to enter negotiations on a services agreement, which would establish clear and legally binding rules for UK firms doing business in China. The UK is the world's second largest exporter of services, including in finance, healthcare, and legal services, and number 10 said demand from China in the area was growing. It said an agreement would open up Chinese markets for businesses, for example by enabling recognition of UK professional qualifications. Meanwhile, pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca will invest $15 billion, that's £10.9 billion, in China up to 2030, establishing new manufacturing sites and expanding its workforce in the country.
British citizens could benefit significantly. Hundreds of thousands of travellers visit China each year for business, tourism, and cultural exchange. Easing travel restrictions is expected to boost both leisure and commercial travel.
While many have welcomed the change, critics argue the UK should be cautious given concerns about national security and human rights in China. Supporters say increased travel will deepen people-to-people links and open up economic opportunities. The visa-free travel arrangement is expected to take effect soon, though an exact date has not yet been announced. Both governments say they hope this will strengthen long-term ties and expand opportunities between the UK and China. We'll continue to follow this developing story. Sir Keir has traveled to Beijing with a delegation of British business and cultural leaders. At the start of his meeting with Xi, the PM said he wanted a more sophisticated relationship with China. Stressing the benefits of closer ties for people in the UK, he said, "Events abroad affect everything that happens back in our home countries, from prices on the supermarket shelves to how secure we feel."
Meanwhile, President Xi said UK-China relations had gone through some twists and turns that did not serve the interests of our countries. He argued dialogue between the UK and China was imperative in a turbulent and fluid world. He praised previous Labour governments for making important contributions to the growth of China-UK relations, and told Sir Keir the two men would stand the test of history if they could rise above differences. Following the meeting, as a gift, Sir Keir gave President Xi a football used during last weekend's Premier League match between Manchester United and Arsenal. The PM is a keen Arsenal fan, while the President purportedly supports Manchester United. President Xi gifted Sir Keir a copper statue of a horse, while Chinese Premier Li Qiang gave the Prime Minister 3 kinds of flutes. The trip comes at a time of heightened trade tensions after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened 100% tariffs on Canada for signing a strategic partnership with China. The visit has been criticized by opposition parties, with Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch saying she would not be going to China at this time if she was PM. Liberal Democrat Foreign Affairs spokesman Callum Miller said Sir Keir's approach was all give and no take. Many British firms and universities want Chinese business, but the British public also wants to know the PM is standing up for our national security.